لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله.
What's the ruling for shaking hands with the opposite gender, especially in a professional setting?
What's the ruling of shaking hands with the opposite sex? The position of all four schools has been and is that the underlying ruling does not relate to hands, right? That unnecessary direct physical contact between unrelated adults of the opposite sex is impermissible. Any skin-to-skin contact, whether with or without desire, between adults of the opposite sex is not permitted in our religion. Unless it's out of genuine need, such as medical, that is unavoidable, right? And that's a clear part of our teachings, right? And the basis of that is the general principles of our religion with respect to touching the awra of the opposite, about contact between the genders, but also the prophetic practice. Right? There's a number of hadiths of the Prophet ﷺ where he warned against any touching of the opposite sex. That is better for you to touch a burning rod of iron than to touch someone of the opposite sex. And it just says touch. There's no implication there of desire or the like. Secondly, the Arabs at the time of prophethood, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, had a habit that while generally men and women did not shake hands, however, when people came and pledged allegiance to a leader, even the women would shake hands. The Prophet ﷺ consistently refused. People would often express their admiration, their respect to the elders, whether in age or rank in a tribe, by placing their hands on the leader's hands. And the Prophet ﷺ steadfastly refused. And he said in a number of, إِنِّي لَا أُصَافِحُ النِّسَاءِ, I do not shake the hands of women. Even in situations where it was the custom of his people clearly to do so. Many a time, a woman stretched out her hand to shake his hand. Once he could not tell whose hand was stretched out, says, whose hand is it? And says, so and so. And he refused. Right? Even though that was the custom. Even with women who came from other tribes to enter Islam. So here you could argue that there's a maslahah, there's an interest. Someone's come from another tribe, they want to enter Islam. So what if they mind? But the key from prophetic teachings is to do so gracefully, tactfully. Okay? So one smiles, one upholds good character, one puts one's hands on one's chest, one nods one's head, one can inform the other party in advance. Right? And many people in professional situations and the like don't do so. Right? Because when there's a will, there's a way. And beyond that, one does one's best. One does one's best. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala facilitate for us to uphold the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, but both in its form, but also in the spirit of it. Right? No one's saying that be bereft of a smile. No one's saying to be bereft of good character. Take the initiative. If you initiate the conversation, you ask them how they are, you are gracious and friendly and cheerful and positive and present yourself well. And you put your hand on your chest. If necessary, cough into your hand and just smile that that you coughed in your hand. Whatever. And different people figure out different ways. I have a friend who's Texan, but you can only probably pull that off in some parts of Texas. He just said that my religious teachings tell me that no man should make physical contact with a woman, with a lady as pretty as you are. But that wouldn't work in other contexts. That's like very idiosyncratic, right? I have friends who, in professional settings, say just as in the Jewish tradition, many Muslims in the Islamic tradition Men and women do not traditionally shake hands, with all due respect, etc. And if you say, well, just like the Jews, right, which is true, conservative, or certainly Orthodox Jews, and many conservatives do not do so, then that sort of makes it something less alien, and it's accepted in many places in the professional world. The Jewish community has been there for much longer. It's not an unusual thing, right? And most people are reasonably reasonable, and a lot of people are surprisingly reasonable. And most people can be reasonable if you are upholding good character. And even they respond a little negatively, but if you uphold good character, the Prophet ﷺ said, you can't reach everyone with your wealth or with your influence, but you can reach everyone through good character. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله